Oh, hold on, let me mute my. There's my mic. Okay, coming to me in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, and good whatever time it is, and welcome to another episode of Trevantine, the podcast in which you get to hear the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of an 18-year-old senior in high school being affected by the coronavirus. So this is the podcast where we have 3 sections. 1, how corona is affecting us. 2, what I'm doing for today. And 3, the national headlines. But for the first part, how corona is affecting us, I have one of my longest high school friends who turned into a collegiate swimmer, Miss Ashlyn Pope. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, yeah, I'm Ashlyn, like he said, and I do swim for Lake Forest College.
So, how long were you swimming before you got into it competitively?
Um, I started swimming for our rec league, probably when I was like 7, I think, and then I started swimming club, which is a little bit more competitive, just like a couple years after that, and then just stuck with that since.
Hmm. So you go to Lake Forest?
hmm
Well, that's in Chicago, right?
Yeah, it's not technically a suburb, so it's just north of Chicago, like an hour train ride.
So what made you decide on Lake Forest?
Well, I got an email from the coach, and that's how I found out about it. Whenever you talk to someone from Lake Forest, they always ask how you find out about Lake Forest because it's so small. But yeah, I got an email from the coach. I just because I've been getting emails from small private schools. That's kind of like whenever you're in the recruiting process, that's usually what you get is like small private schools. And so, at least for my case. And so I was like, oh, it's just another small private school. I'll look it up and see where it is because location was kind of my number one. And then I saw that it was north of Chicago and it was kind of in a prime location to where it's similar to Liberty in Kansas City. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll check it out. And I looked at the website, emailed the coach back, and then went on an official visit and just like fell in love. And it's a beautiful campus, but the people are just amazing.
It's a really beautiful campus. What's it like living on campus?
We have a very active community, so like everyone knows everybody because there's 1,500 students roughly, which is like less than Liberty North High School. So everyone kind of just gets to know everybody. It's a small enough campus to where you walk everywhere, and you can walk from one side campus to the other in like 10 to 15 minutes, but it feels spread out, so it doesn't feel like a tiny school. Um, but we just do a lot of on-campus activities, and I just really enjoy it.
What are you studying again?
Right now I'm bio, but we'll see.
Uh-oh.
I
What?
can I have until the end of the semester or the end of like my sophomore year to officially decide. So I have plenty of time.
Ah, I see. What do you want to do after college?
I'd like to go to vet school. That's kind of the goal.
Oh, 'cause you have cats?
Yeah, only because I have cats.
So how is this whole corona thing affected swim collegiately?
What's nice about like especially with Division 3, is our season was already over. So we had conference the end of February, which is kind of I don't want to say funny because the coronavirus isn't funny, but we had conference in Grinnell, Iowa, and right before we went, we saw a headline from Grinnell saying that they had a student that was coming back from a study abroad in China and was being quarantined for the coronavirus. And we're like, haha, we're all going to get coronavirus in the middle of Iowa. That's crazy. And then, like, a month later, we're all home quarantined. So, kind of just like thinking back to that, I was like, wow, I didn't really think this was going to happen, but nobody did. So, whatever. But luckily, we were all done. Our season was wrapped up. But we missed our swim banquet, so we did that virtually on Zoom yesterday. So
Did you
yeah,
guys
it
get
was nice.
dressed up and stuff?
We did. A lot of the girls wore their old prom dresses, which was cute.
Aw. So I take it you're all back home right now.
Yeah, everybody's home except for Graham. He is from South Africa, and so it's really expensive for him to get home. So he's staying with his roommate in Michigan.
Oh wow. So, I forget college is like like international too.
Yeah.
What's it like just meeting new people?
That was something that I really like. It was kind of like a culture shock because like my friend Susan on the team is from Beijing, China. And so like she literally took like 3 days to get home, or I guess it was probably even longer than that to get home during this whole quarantine thing. Which first of all, I was impressed that she was able to get back to Beijing anyways, and that she pushed through all the boundaries because she had to be quarantined in a hotel by herself for like 2 weeks. But she made it.
Mm,
But just like getting to know people like that and getting to hear like their background is really interesting. And we do have a really large international population on our campus. So just getting to like meet new people from different backgrounds is really interesting because like living in Missouri isn't the most diverse place.
no, not really. um, so like what were your initial thoughts? Because you were a freshman this year, right?
Mhm.
Going into college, how was it different than just like high school compared to like not just the like culture shock thing, but like everything else too?
Um, it's it's really fun. Like especially now that I'm not there, I realize how much fun I was having because like you have fun, but then you're also like every single day of the week you're working on school. And so while you're having fun, you don't really notice it as much. But now that I'm here, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was like the most fun I've ever had. And so I just think the first month I was like blown away at like the independence that I had. If I wanted to take a train into downtown Chicago, it was just $10. Like I could just spend $10, go downtown Chicago, like just explore. It was just amazing to like have that independence because I've never had that before. And just like it's a lot different than high school in terms of like your classes and like the professors. It's completely different, but I loved high school and I love college like 10 times more.
Ooh, that sounds promising. Is it
Yeah.
like as campy as this might sound, is it like the movies?
Yes. There are times where like I would be like hanging out with my friends and I just think about like a like a college coming of age movie and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is just I feel like I'm in a movie right now.
Since you're all at home now doing school, what's that like?
Um, so honestly, I mean, I know in high school it's like this too, but a lot of our classes were through, um, oh, Macy's knocking things down over there, if you can see her. But a lot of our classes were through Moodle, which is kind of just like Blackboard. So all of our like turn-ins and like assignments were online already. So being able, like, it was a smooth transition to go online, but it's just starting to hit me now, like I literally have I think our last day of classes is 8 days from now, and so it's kind of like, okay, like, I don't have many deadlines right now just because it's hard to set deadlines when everyone has different, like, time zones and, circumstances, and so it's kind of, like, very loose schedules, but they're like, "Okay, just turn everything by the end of the semester," and my thoughts are, "Oh, I have plenty of time," but now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I have 8 days to get everything done," and then I have to do exams and which I don't think many of mine are actual exams. I think they're all open book or papers or presentations, which is better, I guess, but it's just it's tricky, but I think I'm adjusting well.
How do you do presentations online?
So, that was, like, a weird thing for me because my bio class right now is strictly presentations and writing, and so normally we get in front of class, like, any of the presentation and just like present with our slides. And so now we have to record ourselves. Like I would here record myself with the presentation pulled up, which like is nice because I can redo it as many times as I want. But I'm a procrastinator. And so I wait until like 30 minutes until it's due. And I'm like, okay, time to do my presentation. So it doesn't really work out for me, but you know, I'll learn, I guess.
So are you like 100% dedicating your time to school, or how does that work?
Yeah, pretty much like so on Tuesdays and Thursdays are when I have my Zoom classes. So only like it's up to the professors to do what they want to do. So I have two professors that are doing their like actual lectures on Zoom. So I have my religion class on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. and my environmental science class on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2:30, which is basically normal time for me. And then we just do like the normal allotted time that we would. And it's just the same thing that we normally do because a lot of my classes are discussion based, anyways. So we do the reading, we show up to the Zoom class, and we talk about it. And that's kind of just what I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I do my homework for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on those days too. So my Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are pretty chill, but unless I have papers or something due.
So like on when you were at college, what would you do in your free time? Or did you ever have free time?
So that was kind of a big bummer because on my fall schedule, I basically don't have any free time because of swim. But since swim ended at the end of February, we are all excited because we have all this time. So, because we don't really do any postseason workouts except for like on your own. So everyone's like all having fun, all excited for like, because you add like, I forgot what the total was, but I would get like 4 extra hours in every single day of the week. So I was like super excited to go explore Chicago more. That's one thing that I love to do in my free time is just like go downtown, especially with the nicer weather. I was super excited for that. Um, and just like even like downtown Lake Forest, just want to go to. Another thing, we have a beach, and everyone was super excited for beach days because it was going to start getting warm again. And so that's kind of the big bummer. Um, but otherwise, in my free time, like when it was still cold, I would do a lot of Netflix watching. And then I have a group where we do Monday movie nights.
Oh, that's awesome. So would you just like watch a certain movie, or like how'd those work?
Yeah, so we would like we had this Snapchat group chat, and so um, like in the like week we just text like if someone had an idea for a movie they wanted to watch it, we just text it, and then we go to our friend's room who has a TV, and we'd all get on the couch and watch a movie.
That's awesome. Do you live in the dorms?
We have all on campus living, and it's really hard to get off campus living just because of like the residential area around it is like high dollar, and so everyone just lives in the dorms anyways.
Is it like a suite style? What kind of dorm do you live in?
So the dorm that I was living in this year is a quad, but it's not like a typical quad like at a bigger school. So it's straight up just 4 beds, 1 room. Luckily, we only had 3 girls in that room. So it was like me, Lauren, and Blanca. And then Lauren had to move out because we were on the top floor and I think she tore her ACL.
Mm.
And so she had to move to a lower floor. So then we only had 2 people in a room that was supposed to fit 4. So we had tons of space, which is really nice. Um, but then this next year, I applied to live in a room. It's another quad, but it's split up. So I've got like 2 people in the front room, and then there's a bathroom and a closet, and then 2 people in the back.
Wow. Fancy, man. Fancy. How This is just going to be me giving you all my college questions, but
Yeah.
how's your meal plan and like eating work?
So we have 3 different meal plans. This is me being so I work in the student leadership center, so I know all about like giving like tours and like I can tell you all about our school. But we have 3 different plans. There's the unlimited, which is just completely like you have the unlimited amount of meal swipes in a week. And then there's the 15 meal plan and then there's a 10 meal plan. So the 10 means you get 10 swipes a week and then the 15 is 15 swipes a week. And I have a 15 because you also get a certain amount of boomer bucks, which is like our flex dollars, which can go to our like school, like little grocery store that we have. And then we also have like a Chipotle, but it's not called Chipotle. And then we have like a Subway, but it's not called Subway, but it's the same thing. And then So I with a 15, I get like 15 swipes per week, and then I get I think oh hi Macy, I think I get 500 a semester towards Boomer Bucks. So I like that one because for swim, we eat together for dinner and breakfast usually, but I typically don't have time for lunch. And so I'll use my Boomer Bucks to go get a snack or something for lunch instead. But that's what I use.
Boomer Bucks.
Hmm.
What's your is that your mascot?
Yeah, it's Boomer and he's a bear, which I'm pretty sure is the exact same thing as Mo State.
Oh.
But yeah, they're teeth.
um how'd the boomer meme like go over you guys?
I know. I think I just wasn't, it didn't hit.
Mm, lame
Okay.
bro, lame bro. So obviously you sounded pretty entertained at college. How are you
Yeah.
staying entertained now?
Well, I've been trying to do Zoom calls with my Monday movie night squad. Um, we haven't tried Netflix Party yet, but that's the goal at some point, so we can continue watching movies. Other than that, I got my mom gave me her Apple Watch, so I've been working on that. Um, I've been watching The Good Place. If you
Ooh.
haven't seen it,
Mm,
10 out of 10 would recommend. It's really good.
what's it about?
It's about like these four people. I can't say a lot without spoiling it, but they wake up and they realize they're in the afterlife. And so it's
Oh,
just kind of like following this group of people and like their experience in the afterlife. It's very interesting. And there's a lot of plot twists.
funky fresh.
Mhm.
Interesting. Um, ha- have you been like running for swim or anything? Like obviously the pools are closed. How does
Mhm.
that work?
So yeah, the pools are closed, but we've been doing like so my club team. So after college, my plan is just once I come back home, I will do tsunami, which is my club team, just back up until I leave for school again, to stay in shape. But obviously we can't swim right now. So we've been doing Zoom calls with the team to just like socialize with people and talk about like different ways that we're trying to stay fit. And so I've been doing like a lot of walks. Like I live about a mile and a half from the square, and so I've been walking to Liberty Square and back, and then to Heritage, um, and just like kind of we have a puppy, so I've been walking my puppy, and I have been trying to run. I've done like I think 3 runs now, and I'm very out of shape and it hurts really bad. But now that it's starting to get warmer out, it hurts less. So maybe I will continue to run.
I bet Finn would love running.
Yeah, my mom runs with Finn, but I don't because he drags and I don't want to break my face.
Die.
Hmm.
Um, how's this? Is the square like dead? Like I honestly haven't left my house in a long time.
Yeah, no, the square's pretty dead. You can still go to Hammerhand and they do curbside and pick up, and so you can order like at the door, like they have like a little window. And so we went. I've been twice now to pick up. But that's pretty much the only thing that's active down there right now.
Wow, dude. How do you think it will like recover from this? Or do you think the square will quite be the same? Do you think a lot of those businesses will shut down?
I don't know, because like the places in the square haven't really been known to stay open just regularly, anyways. But I do have some favorites down there. Like I love that Mexican place in the square, and they are doing takeout and like delivery. So I'm really hoping a lot of businesses take advantage of DoorDash and Grubhub and like Postmates, whatnot, because I think that helps our local restaurants a lot. But in terms of like, because I really like catfish and tater too, and so I really hope they do online sales. So I hope that they're doing well too. But I don't know. I'm just praying for some of these small businesses. Have you ever been to beignets at River Market?
Mm-mm.
Well, it's just really, really good. It's like New Orleans, Louisiana style, and
On
they
the
close.
square?
No, on the River Market downtown.
Oh, okay.
And they closed. They've been open down there for 7 years, and they had to shut down because of it. And I'm so sad. It was so
Oh,
good. So hopefully, some of these like small businesses on the square can stay open.
definitely. What is Catfish and Tater? Isn't that a clothing place?
I really like their clothes, and they're pretty popular, I think. So hopefully they can do some good online sales.
Hmm. Do you know if Ginger Sue's is still open?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I've been using social media to figure stuff out, so I've been doing like Facebook, um, and usually businesses will update on there. I hope they're open because if Ginger Sue's closed, I think Liberty would like shut down.
Yeah, I think the whole city might just collapse.
Yeah.
Honestly. Well, Ashlyn, I had a great time talking to you today. Did
Thank
you?
you for having me.
No problem. Too bad Nani couldn't hop on.
I know 'cause she's doing her yoga. Macy was enjoying her spotlight though.
That's good. That's good. Did you have any final things to say, or did Macy have anything to say?
Thank you.
All right, Ashlyn. Well, you have a great day. Stay safe and keep washing your hands.
Thank you, you too.
See ya.
Bye.
And that was the fantastic Miss Ashlyn Pope. Definitely one of I would say my oldest, one of the most memorable high school homies I've had. We had the same math class. Well, I was in her math class my freshman year, as she was a grade above me, and she just like guided me through high school, man. So that's how that happened, and that was a great way. She introduced me to so many new people and so many just like ways of life. So definitely a long time homie. Glad to hear that she's staying safe and just trying to make the most out of the time that we have right now. So yeah, that was today's segment on how the coronavirus is affecting us. That's how coronavirus is affecting a collegiate swimmer. Now we can get to our second segment and start talking about the boring stuff and talk about the news. So these headlines come from the New York Times 30 minutes ago, and it says Congress and the Trump administration are near a deal on small business aid. Congress and the administration to provide a bill to provide $450 billion to replenish the small business loans and programs to provide more funding for hospitals. Democrats are pushing to include a requirement in the measure in which $25 billion for testing that the government establishes a national testing strategy, a move that the Trump administration has so far resisted. Basically, what they're trying to do is just allow for more testing to be worldwide, not worldwide, nationwide, and give more people options. I know the testing kits have been definitely very low, and the next headline right underneath it flows perfectly into this because it says Maryland receives thousands of test kits from South Korea after the governor and his wife closed a deal with the labs. So it said Mr. Trump told governors that they needed to step up their efforts to secure medical supplies, and Governor Larry Hogan of Maryland, a Republican, took the entry seriously and negotiated with suppliers in South Korea to obtain coronavirus test kits. It says on Saturday, the first Korean air flight to touch down in Baltimore Washington International Airport arrived carrying 5,000 test kits. So far, Maryland has conducted 71,577 tests, while 516 people in the states have died from the virus and infections, and nearly 14,000 people are continue to rise as being infected. New test kits will give the state the capability to make 500,000 new tests, and according to a state official. So obviously that's a great thing to hear. Maryland and their governor did a great job negotiating with them. I'm surprised the U.S. government hasn't done that directly. I'm surprised the government hasn't done that and then distributed it throughout the 50 states. But I'm glad they're handling it on a state by state basis, because that state is obviously bounds and leaps ahead of everyone else who are just kind of chilling and waiting for the government to handle everything, the national government at least. So this is why we have federalism. Federalism is a great thing in the United States government. Next time we have is as White House defends testing capacity or capability, governors say that they lack supplies. President Trump said on Sunday night that the administration was preparing to use the Defense Protection Act to compel an unspecified U.S. Facilities to increase production on test swabs over 2 million a month. The remarks came during the Sunday evening news conference after he was after he defended his response to the pandemic amid criticism from governors across the country who have said that there have been an insignificant amount of testing and shortage of tests themselves to justify reopening the economy soon. Trump obviously wants to open the country sooner than later, so he wants more test kits. I mean, that's just going to be the way it is. On brighter news, oil falls in the stock market. Not on brighter news, really. Oil prices fall. That's good. But stocks on Wall Street drop also. Stocks on Wall Street tumble as shares of energy producers falling along with the price of crude oil on Monday. The price of the U.S. benchmark crude oil plummeted about $5 or about 37% to $11.2 a barrel, a level that hasn't been seen in the last 2 decades. The S&P 500 fell more than 1% in early trading amongst shares in Europe, which were mostly lower. Oil producers, including Noble Energy and Diamondback Energy, were among the worst performing shares. Shares of the United Airlines and American Airlines were also sharply lower after the former said that almost $2 billion in the first 3 months of the year. Obviously, that is big stats to hear, especially from some of these huge corporations. Speaking of huge corporations, here's a good and upbeat headline. It says Shake Shack is giving back $10 million of its stimulus bill. It says Shake Shack, the fast food chain, is returning $10 million. Their $10 million loan for federal programs to help small businesses following criticism that the stimulus program has favored larger chains. In the $349 billion stimulus effort, which was distributed to the first-come, first-served basis, was exhausted in the first 2 weeks. Loans favoring larger companies that were larger, better to navigate the application process. Shake Shack, with 189 outlets and nearly 8,000 employees in the United States, said that it has secured extra capital it was needed through the equity transaction on Friday. The owner said that we are thankful for that, and we have decided to immediately return the entirety of the $10 million PPP loan we received last week in the SBA, so restaurants who needed it can get it most. Obviously, that's a great thing to hear, especially from a larger corporation. The Trump administration encourages protesters to liberate themselves despite warning from public health officials. 1 month after Americans were asked to stay at home and reorder their lives in efforts to limit the spread of the virus, President Trump defended protesters who were rebelling against the restrictions, threatening to undermine the efforts of its own administration's public health experts. These people love our country, Mr. Trump said on Sunday evening after a day filled with scattered protests across the country. They want to go back to work. This is something I kind of find ridiculous going on, and that's why are we protesting and getting in large groups when we're told not to. I understand the libertarian thought and not wanting the government to control our ways of life, and they want to go back to work because they obviously need the money and they need everything else. But here's my thing. The sooner we get this under control, the sooner we can go back to work. Why would you go out into the public, and why would you risk the spread of doing this more if it's just going to cause more problems? That's just my way of thinking. I don't really quite understand that. And the final headline we have for today is that the virus has swept through Detroit police department from the chief and on down. A few departments have been hit worse than Detroit's. Out of the 2,800 uniformed officers and civilians who work for the department, at least 180 have tested positive for the virus late last week. More than 1,000 quarantined at one point. Excuse me. Chief James Craig tested positive on March 27th and stayed isolated into his home until Thursday. You know, that's another big thing. Just like how the Theodore Roosevelt was plagued with everyone having, or seemingly almost everyone having the coronavirus. Hospitals are being flooded with people becoming infected. I couldn't imagine fire departments. I couldn't even imagine the police department. The police department's everywhere, man. But it's still incredible to see some of these things that's been going on. I don't know if you guys have seen that video, but there's a video of a bunch of nurses standing in traffic in front of protesters, basically trying to get them to go home, man, because they're obviously going out and they're not trying to spread the coronavirus anymore, but that's essentially what's happening because they're sitting there thinking they're high and mighty because they can, get away from this big corona thing. But protesting isn't going to cause any huge difference. If sure, Trump is encouraging it. He obviously doesn't want to be laid blame for this, but it's a tough scenario because if you're a libertarian and you really don't want government control and you really want to go back to work, okay, protest. But why protest and endanger other people, especially yourself and then your family too? It just seems very ridiculous. But that's all I have for the headlines. I'll stop talking about my rants and thoughts. Now let's talk about what I've been doing today, or what I'm going to do today, and what I did yesterday. So yesterday, Sunday, great day. I woke up, we had pancakes and sausages. A great, fantastic morning. Couldn't beat it. Then what did we do? We went out. We didn't really go out. We just chilled. Yeah, I just chilled all day. That was good to hear. I watched the movie The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse was unlike anything I've ever seen. It was very intriguing. Definitely an artistic piece. You gotta watch it. It's very, very nice and very masterfully composed. Tomorrow I might do a movie podcast, so I'll just talk about movies and stuff like that. But definitely something to keep out and keep an eye for. I'd recommend it. There's some very mature themes that go on throughout the movie, but it's interesting things. So I finished at about 5 p.m. and then I just waited until 8 p.m. When the Michael Jordan documentary came on, The Last Dance. So I'm wearing actually a Toon Squad. Let's go over here. A Toon Squad Space Jam jersey right now with Jordan's name on it. I couldn't find my Bulls jersey. I have no clue where it is. I have a white Bulls jersey that's like a Hardwood Classics. I just can't find it. It's not in my closet, so I don't know. But the first two parts of that came out. That was astonishing. I really liked the way they composed the stories, and that's potentially something I could get into. Going into journalism next year at the University of Missouri. It's going to be intriguing to see, because that's just another journalistic approach in that documentaries. So maybe that's something I could do in the future. The 30 for 30 group does a phenomenal job at like conveying stories, and they just hit it out of the park using one of the biggest basketball figures of all time, especially one where millions of kids today don't really quite understand his impact. I'm one of those kids. You see all his highlights, you see everything, but you don't really truly get to experience what it was like during that time, especially as a kid our age, because you see how popular he is, but you don't really feel his presence. I think popularity nowadays is much different, because on TikTok you could have 4 million viewers and just post like one video and have like, I guess I don't want to say no talent, but not have anything outstanding or anything that really like separates you. But like back then, I don't know why I'm so yawny. I didn't drink coffee this morning, I guess. Back then, like in the first episode, Michael and the Bulls went to Paris, and everyone was flooding him, and like you see that nowadays. But back in 1997, before phones, when everything was on television and the newspaper and radio, that's just crazy, man, to think that you could draw that much attention, and especially being like a basketball player nonetheless. So, I think it's definitely something interesting, and it could be a great study to see in how that's different, and that's the influence on popularity between generations, because obviously being popular now and being like famous back then is two completely different things, because now you're constantly documented. Now you're always on the limelight. So very intriguing to see. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Definitely recommend it. It's 9 p.m. Eastern time every Sunday. I can't wait, dude. I saw so many tweets. Twitter went crazy this morning, and it was like, dude, we all could have watched all 10 hours of it, and that is so true. I would watch all 10 hours if I could, but definitely go check it out. The Last Dance, fantastic documentary. I've been watching a lot of movies lately. I watched The Dirty Dozen. I watched Lethal Weapon 1 and 2. Today I might watch a French New Wave movie just because I'm feeling artistic. I don't know, dude. I've been getting in a real movie grind lately, and I have all this time on my hands. Just my biggest thing is working around limitations, because obviously I can't work with other people, or if I can, it's very select few. And I think if I had to do anything, it'd have to be a solo piece, and Um, I've been studying a lot of Jean-Luc Godard, the French New Wave filmmaker, and I have some ideas brewing around, but I don't know if I quite want to put it out or even put it on paper. I don't know. I'll figure something out. I'll definitely try and do something because it's definitely something I've been toying with for a long time and something I just kind of need to do. Martin Scorsese once said that you don't go into movie making to make money. You go into it because you have a story you just have to tell. And I feel like maybe I'm just trying to be quirky, but I don't know. I just want to really tell this one story that I just have to get out there. But we'll find out. That was today's episode of Trevantine. Hope you guys enjoyed. Um, Not much is really going on today. I just got a lot of schoolwork that I'm gonna try and bang out. But we'll find out what happens. So keep washing your hands. It's gonna be the way it is for a while. And until next time, I'll catch you on the north side.